get this one started. So we have Michael Hamilton that's going to be on Icelander. He's playing against another Bryan here, who let the Bryans out.
Bryan spelled properly. Thank you, Bryan Knecht. Of course, Michael Hamilton with this bizarre Icelander list. And look at the defensive setup here. Seeing a crown of dichotomy, some ironhide gauntlets, just different looking pieces from Michael Hamilton.
Yeah, when I looked at Michael Hamilton's list, it took me a while
Crown
to
of
digest
Providence,
everything.
I'm sorry, I said
yeah,
crown of dichotomy. You feel me.
There's a lot of crowns in this. You could just say crown.
Yeah, crown. I'll shortcut next time.
Yeah. We've got AB3 on the side of Bryan here as well.
I'm glad our newest crown has been previewed, so I can't go ahead and mistakenly call Crown of Providence that crown. Thank you for letting that preview out early, LSS.
I'm doing this new thing where I'm trying not to look at the spoilers too much. I kind of want to wait, but it's just going to be so impossible once preview season starts.
Yeah.
My Twitter feed is going to be littered with cards. So looks like we got a Sledge on turn 1 now. Have you played this matchup from the Oldham side? How do you feel about Sledge versus Icelander?
Look, Sledge versus Wizard, it's the old tech. It's how you approach Kano as well. Basically, you don't have to commit resources as hard. You're able to offer more damage without really taking down your shields, especially on turns where you may have a Tunic lying around here. Of course, we're seeing Heart of Ice in the chest slot, which I agree with 100%. But it really opens up new play patterns to you when you're relying on Sledge as opposed to Winter's Wail.
See, I've gone back and forth on this. I actually was one of the people, I didn't like Sledge at all against Kano.
Okay.
I was not a fan because you have to commit so many resources into it, and it's a little different than Icelander because Icelander, chips away at you a little bit more than Kano does. It's trying to set up, this in-game thing where Kano at any point in time, once it gets enough resources after turn 3, say, is just trying to blow you up in one big turn.
Yeah.
Again, that's a personal preference. Not saying it's wrong. In fact, I think Sledge is better against Icelander than it is against Kano.
No, that's a fair assessment. A decent little turn there to start off from Michael Hamilton, throwing some arcane damage around. But we see the big glacial footsteps again. This one fused. 10 Dominate headed the way of Michael Hamilton. Does have a nice little equipment suite ready to do some defending, which we do not usually see in terms of Icelander decks. I don't think we'll cash that in quite yet. Maybe wait a little bit. Just going to go ahead and deploy a Frosting, get a Frostbite over on Bryan's side. Bryan says, that's fine. I was done anyway. Little AB available.
Yeah, got 2 floating here just in case that Waning Moon gets activated as well. Michael trying to chip away at some of the life points here. He's about to get a big chunk of his taken away. Maybe setting up a block here. It looks like we're going to have a block with a Brother of Arms. It's going to get pumped up, one of your favorite cards.
Yeah, I love this Brothers in Arms.
Showing
its worth.
Bryan in Arms.
Okay. Just keep with the Bryan theme of this U.S. Nationals.
How many Bryans will make top 8?
All of them. Waning Moon follow-up from Michael Hamilton. Just going to go ahead and sink those resources in, do a little bit of prevention. 1 arcane damage leaking through. Now we're back to Michael Hamilton's turn.
Yep, 33 on Bryan's side, 30 on Michael's side. He did start a little bit less of a life total, but...
Yep.
Energy potion set up here and an arsenal. Decent turn for Michael if he's not going to be doing anything, damage presenting here. Going to set up for one of those big turns that we're looking forward later in the game.
Yeah, interesting set of cards here from Bryan. I do see Terra Sunder in hand, but I think the only attack might be a Glacial Footstep, so I don't think we have the resources to go ahead and deploy this one. Could look at something, maybe a Glacial Footsteps with a Pummel, but again, a little resource short is Bryan. Oldham, a very, very resource-hungry deck. You kind of need to be playing out of your arsenal to have your hugest turns. How about some more Footsteps? This time a blue one, offering 8 damage. Card left in hand for Bryan.
Big old Frost Giant walking across the board here, attacking for 8. Looks like he's going to get 2 cards out of Michael Hamilton's hand, but he's going to go down to 28 here. It's going to be an Arsenal and a pass from the other Bryan here. Spelled correctly. I think you pointed that out earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if we're going to see something like this out of Michael Hamilton.
At it again. Feyendel's fighting spirit coming through 4-7.
Nice equipment, bro.
Looking to do the beatdowns.
This is something I was going to ask you if we had time a little bit at the beginning. Is like, do you think Michael maybe has some hedges in his deck of some attacks?
I think Michael has so many attacks in his 80 cards that he'll always be playing some.
Amount,
yeah. I think he will find the best attacks for a matchup like Brothers in Arms. Great way to stop that dominate damage. Lines up well if you're not sledging, if you're doing something like Winter's Wail instead. So I'm not shocked to see this card in the list at this point.
Gaining a little bit of life here as well. It's going to bring Bryan down to 26. We got a Zealous belting here.
Yeah, so more beatdown Oldhams.
Yeah, it's beat down a clock on Oldham right now.
We'll go again on that one.
Yeah, this is one of the few attacks you're going to see in this deck that actually has go again on it. So this is one of the turns where they actually get wide. So a lot of damage getting represented from Bryan here.
Yeah, it's a little dangerous from Bryan's side. This is the spot where Michael, should he have an ice card in Arsenal, could potentially go ahead and mess with Bryan a little bit. Usually there's not too many opportunities to do that, but a big pummel here from Bryan. Going to pump that up to 9, offering a lot of damage to Michael Hamilton right now, as well as threatening a card in hand.
See, can Michael maybe use all the cards out of his hand here to get around this?
Yeah, and if we find a sledge activation here too, or any kind of other follow-up attack, this is a really, really damage-intense turn from Bryan.
Those 2 resources are looming quite big. Here we got a Polar Blast being played out of Arsenal. It's going to give a Frostbite over to Bryan. That could be very impactful here. There's not a blue left over in Bryan's hand.
Yeah, let's see if that restricts Bryan's options here. As we said, not many chances to go ahead and influence the go again, or to influence the Oldham's turn mid-turn. If they fire off a large attack just to begin with, they're rolling free, basically. The Frostbites don't hit.
It does look like there is going to be a sledge attack here. It's going to get blocked a little bit. But Michael Hamilton, but 3 damage is going to leak on through and put him down to 20. Big, aggressive turn from Bryan here. He's going to take 3 of his own here at the end turn from Waning Moon. So 23 to 20 as we move back over to Michael Hamilton.
Life total's falling rapidly in what is, quote-unquote, a control matchup. Is there any true control right now?
I don't feel like there is. I think like most of the control decks are more mid-rangey nowadays. And they have the ability to go, if I need to, I can assume full control in the matchup.
I think that's good for Flesh and Blood. I think that presents an exciting metagame, interesting games.
Give me mid-range matchups all day, please.
Yeah, and here's another big swing from Bryan. 10 damage, not dominated, no fusion on this one. Again, you're seeing just a small amount of windows for Frostbites to matter. You start the turn and you start swinging.
That was getting a block from a Brother's Arms and a Frost Hex here. I don't know if Michael Hamilton's going to have time for Frost Hex to be relevant.
No, I don't think so. And I think that's where this matchup started for Icelander. It was a Frost Hex matchup. We wanted to pile them up. I don't think that's how it works anymore. There's just too much pressure coming from the Oldham decks. You have to kind of meet them on their terms.
Bryan was able to Arsenal here as well before passing, so he's got a 5-card hand. And here we see Scar versus Scar for Michael. Again, nice equipment over there you've got, Bryan. Not blaming him. Look, I would have set my equipment up the exact same way.
Agreed.
As well.
I mean, what are you supposed to do here? You're just pressured on all fronts.
I can't wait. If Michael Hamilton makes top 8 and plays into an Oldham, I can't wait to see how much time and effort goes into the Oldham player figuring out what the right equipment is going to be.
I will tell you, there will be a lot of people scrambling in hotel rooms tonight if Michael Hamilton makes top 8 as they try and figure out how to approach this Icelander matchup.
And there's something to be said about that. Like, what's better, the actual fact that he has these attacks in his deck or the threat that he can do this to you?
They both matter.
Because if you get it wrong, you might just lose the game.
Yeah.
You know, if you, like, hedge and you go, like, to AB1 against him and he just never attacks you, like, you're not going to be able to get out of this game very well.
One of the reasons why Icelander has proven to be such a cool hero. You can't do this stuff in Kano, really, but you can do it with Icelander. You can play these split game plans, a hero that threatens you on every conceivable axis.
Looks like the 4 was taken by Bryan here.
About another Scar for a Scar.
Second verse, same as the first. Scar for Scar.
Getting wide as Icelander.
I can't tell. I don't think I've ever attacked twice in a turn of Icelander in my life, and I've played this hero a lot.
I wonder if we're about to see a 3rd attack. That would really just make my day.
That would be a world record.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we're gonna move to Arsenal here.
I would be calling the Guinness book after this. That is a world record if you can get the 3rd attack in.
Nice little turn for Michael Hamilton, but here's the problem: 5 cards.
Here comes a big attack here.
Yeah, Thunderquake. Yeah, it could have been worse. I'll be honest with you. I think like just seeing 8 from a 5-card hand, you can live with that.
This is a Cold Snap from Arsenal here. It's going to give a Frostbite over. It's going to draw a card for Michael here as well. He's got a couple floating resources. It's going to freeze that Arsenal.
No big deal there. I don't
yeah, we
think
got
really
Crown.
needed that.
Yeah. Crown of Seed's pretty good at messing around with the Arsenal. Man, when I first saw that card, I didn't realize how impactful that was going to be, the fact that you could manipulate your Arsenal.
I'm not sure anyone did. I think Crown of Seeds, one of the most powerful cards in the history of Flesh and Blood.
It's in probably my top 3.
Yep, very reasonable. And we've only had a little reprieve from Crown of Seeds, with the absence of Bravo Star of the Show from the metagame hitting Living Legend. Oldhim really not at its best recently due to Prisms just being all over the place. There hasn't been a lot of Crown of Seeds over the past 3 months. Maybe people forgot about Dre a little bit. Crown of Seeds back in the house.
All right, looks like we got a block for 5 here. That equipment finally coming out. And Light and Strike from Michael's hand too. So it does look like he's done a pretty good job of putting attacks in his deck.
Take your Frostbite back. I don't need that.
Yeah, who's the Frostbite hero here?
A little inefficiency there. 1 card not used from Bryan.
Oh, boy.
Oh, it's Wounded Bull time, baby. We're going in for the full 8 on the Wounded Bull.
Michael really, really using his life total as a resource for himself here in this game.
Good
Multiple
Lord.
Scar for Scars, a Wounded Bull.
And Bryan falling to 7 now. And look, Icelander here might be looking to beat down a lot, but as soon as that life total gets low, you got to have some fear. But speaking of fear, how about a double fused Oakenold? 9 damage, dominate, as well as that extremely disruptive trigger. And does Michael Hamilton have the bizarro collection of cards that would allow him to dodge that on-hit trigger?
Yeah, when Bryan took that damage that quickly last turn, I was about to say, this better be an Oakenold. This better be an attack for 10.
Yeah, Bryan is absolutely up to it. And it's frustrating, too, if you're Michael Hamilton, because still 2 cards in hand, not even like you're going to be all that successful in firing off return damage here, even if you do have some arcane damage parked in your arsenal right now.
Yeah, this is the nightmare scenario, I think, for Michael here. It's a huge attack that threatens him in multiple ways, and there's no reprieve behind this as well. There's still going to be an arsenal. There's cards in hands for Bryan. He's going to have resources left over for AB. I mean, I don't think there's any good way out of this for Michael. He's going to have to find the best way out.
No, I think this is just a tough turn. This is what Bryan has been playing towards, is setting up an attack like this that can really put Michael under some pressure. You assume some amount of damage headed Michael's way.
You see this turn really weighing on Michael.
Yeah, this is the turn. Like, Michael's decisions here are going to
this is the game,
dictate the outcome.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead and use that Crown of Providence potentially to make a 5-card hand?
Oh, boy.
Oh.
I think Michael took it, and there is a pummel.
Oh.
So Michael's going to go down to 1 here, and that grip is
cards.
not long for this world.
3 cards from hand. An absolutely hellacious salvo from Bryan.
So he gets to keep 1 card.
Yeah, so it looks like we're going to get rid of 2 of them at random first.
This is one of the most brutal turns I've ever seen, Bryan.
Yeah, huge swing in this game for Bryan. Just choosing our cards here that will be discarded. And now Hamilton has a choice for the last discard.
And Bryan's still going to get to Arsenal after this as well.
What a huge swing for Bryan. And are you hearing footsteps, Tannen? That low life total.
Heavy footsteps. What a game.
Yeah, and a quick one, too. It just shows how much Oldhim has changed over the last few weeks. So aggressive here. What kind of response does Michael Hamilton have? Going to go ahead and crack that E-Pot, use that Feyendel Spring Tunic with a pretty nice attack here. It's time for Wounded Bull. That's lethal.
Yeah, this is a check situation for Michael. So this is going to need to be answered by multiple cards from Bryan. This is what Michael needed here. He needed one of his biggest attacks.
I agree.
Possible.
This is so important that this hits 8 too, because that means not even Heart of Ice could be cashed in here if that's what you wanted to do to have a full grip. So this demands a card from hand. And honestly, does it demand several cards from hand? Because what you're going to have to fear at that point is on the next turn, Waning Moon activation, some kind of big shot of arcane damage from the arsenal. All those things become so scary for Bryan.
Yeah, you have to worry about keeping your life total as high as possible here because you might just die the next time you present any attack and you don't have floating resources.
So Bryan's got to find a way to, 1, stay alive, 2, present lethal. That's pretty easy, only 1 life. 3, have enough AB to survive whatever Michael Hamilton could potentially do on the next turn. So if I'm in that seat, I'm thinking about, well, what is the highest damage output blue he could have in Arsenal? Add Waning Moon onto that. That's how many I need to be prepared to AB account for. Can I do that and still represent a good attack here?
Yeah, and that number is going to be pretty high too.
It
Like,
is.
You're not going to be able to account for 5, 6, or 7. So you have to keep your life total as high as possible here, while still that's the hard part, right? He has to keep this as high as possible while still presenting some kind of thing to Michael.
Correct. And if you block, say you block 6 here, right, and you fall to 5, well, that's still very much in range of Waning Moon plus any damage, and that means as soon as you commit, you're in danger.
Looks like a block for 3 here from Bryan. I do see a pummel in Bryan's hand, so maybe he's going to try to think that, hey, look, if I can get any attack on, and Michael does the exact block here, that he could possibly kill him.
Yeah, and here's that sledge.
Let's see. Okay, we have seen Michael make some absurd blocks in this tournament and figure things out. Let's see if he reads the pummel's not in the pitch zone, right? Let's see if he reads this pummel here. I think he's not going to. I don't even think he is even able to do this to play around
I
pummel.
don't know if he can, but then the question is, can he find lethal in response to the pummel? Now there's the pummel. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and activate Emeritus Scolding, and that is lethal for Michael Hamilton, and Michael Hamilton takes the game at the last possible second.
What